Welcome to today's Campus Forum, Crypto Donations, a Glimpse into the US Ecosystem. My name is Mele Becker, and I'm very happy to be your host for this digital exchange here today. While crypto donations are still somehow niche here in Germany, for German nonprofits, they're gaining momentum as an innovative form of giving. And in the US, crypto donations are already an established avenue for charitable contributions, with thousands of organizations actively embracing them as part of their fundraising strategies. Crypto donations offer nonprofits new and a modern approach to reaching new donor communities and to creating an additional revenue stream. And today, I'm very, very happy to welcome a true pioneer in this space, Alex Wilson. He's co-founder of the Giving Block, which is the largest crypto donation platform worldwide. The Giving Block supports nonprofit organizations in leveraging cryptocurrency to optimize their fundraising efforts. And Alex has been featured in publications including USA Today, Bloomberg, and he was also recognized on Forbes 30 under 30 lists for social impact. Today, he'll be sharing some insights from the US about crypto donation and their ecosystem, and he will offering a look behind the scenes at how American nonprofits have embraced this opportunity. We'll try to cover today in the next hour why so many US-based nonprofits are choosing to accept cryptocurrency, what German nonprofits might learn from these practices, and how to build meaningful engagement with crypto donors. And just a little spoiler here so far, we'll be looking into the US ecosystem. So some of the learnings will be transferable for us here in Germany and others won't. So the systems are not the same, but I'm still pretty sure we can learn a lot from Alex here today and from his experience. Welcome, Alex. Great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So you're speaking a bit of German, right?
Ja, ein bisschen schon. So bin eigentlich halb Österreicher. So ich kann ein bisschen Deutsch auch.
Ah, great. So Österreicher, that's another kind of German than mine.
Yeah.
But
Some would say it's not real German, right?
Yes, it is. Let's accept that.
Yeah.
Alex, I already gave some information about yourself, your background, but why crypto? What's your personal journey that led you into the crypto space?
Yeah, it was really started in 2016, 2017, which was, quite early days for crypto and Bitcoin. The initial thing that really got my interest in crypto was actually a lot of the social impact use cases. So I'd heard about some early use cases around people using crypto in places like Venezuela, where they're a failing currency, sort of like human rights use cases, really. And as I started paying attention to crypto more and more, I really became obsessed. I thought, Bitcoin's going to change the world, crypto's going to change the world. That's just really where I wanted to spend a lot of my time in this industry. And towards the end of 2017, as my co-founder and I, well, now co-founder Pat Duffy and I, were thinking about different businesses we could start to help sort of the social impact and nonprofit sector get involved in crypto, we saw something really amazing happen. In 2017, Bitcoin ran up to $20,000. Maybe the first time a lot of people saw it in the headlines, the news that Bitcoin and crypto was really taking off. And there was a person or a group of people, totally anonymous, and we still don't know today, called the Pineapple Fund, which donated roughly $60 million worth of Bitcoin to about 50 or 60 different charities around the world. And it made all sorts of news headlines and was really amazing because they are still anonymous today. And they really just wanted to give away Bitcoin and do good. And you can imagine back then, nonprofits were quite skeptical that this was really going to happen and that the money was real. And for many of them, it was their very, very first time taking crypto. And this was kind of the beginning of crypto philanthropy.
So you said it's the beginning. Was this a one-time thing, or is this something that you see more often happening in the US?
It was sort of the beginning. It was really our inspiration for starting the Giving Block. So that happened at the end of 2017, early 2018. And then in 2018, we actually started the Giving Block formally because we saw more interest from donors and nonprofits wanting to get involved. So my co-founder and I started the company in 2018. As you can imagine, 2018 still a very hard time to convince nonprofits to take crypto. Still a lot of education to do. We spent a lot of time going to conferences, doing webinars, networking events, just getting people more comfortable. And slowly but surely, nonprofits got more and more comfortable. We started signing some really big nonprofits, like, in the US, I guess in Europe, they're pretty big too. Save the Children, for example. Even universities, hospitals, all sorts of different nonprofits started taking up crypto, and we ended up seeing hundreds of millions of dollars starting to get donated in crypto over the years.
And you invested in crypto before, personally?
Yeah, I invested a little bit in crypto back in 2017 when I was getting into it. Unfortunately, I wish I could have invested more. I was recently out of university and didn't have too much money to invest, but at least I got a little bit of crypto.
And you said that you gave a lot of like teachings, coachings, however you want to call it, to different nonprofits in the US. So what were the most, I mean, what was the main obstacles that you were addressing in front of these organizations? What were they afraid of? What did you talk about with them?
Yeah. One of the big things in the early days was simply that no one wanted to be sort of first, right? Everyone was waiting for another nonprofit to be first and try it out and test it out. But the Pineapple Fund helped a lot with that, right? Because the big concern was, if they're going to invest some time and resources to learn about crypto and try to connect with crypto donors, is anyone really going to give, right? So there was sort of a skepticism of if it was worthwhile, basically, and if the industry was really going to stick around, right? You've probably seen the media headlines of, Bitcoin's a fad, crypto's a fad, it's just a hot trend that's not going to be around. But time after time, that's been disproven. So the longer crypto has been around, the easier it's been to talk through those types of concerns. And then, of course, there's always all sorts of just like technical or even legal concerns of like, how do they get this set up? How do they do all the right reporting to the tax agencies and to the government? So we had to build our system to help handle all of that and really make it easy for the nonprofit.
So you talked about the concerns a lot of people have when it comes to crypto. And I think when we speak about concerns, we also have to speak about recent news. How does the Trump election influence the crypto market?
So at least for the US, and I think it has a global impact too, Trump is what a lot of people are calling the first sort of pro-crypto president. It's sort of the first time it's even been on the national stage in the US in such a big way. His sort of opinion or position is he wants to make the US sort of the crypto and tech capital of the world, which is a bit of a change from the last administration that was a little less open or friendly to crypto. So if you've been following the crypto prices at all, when it was announced that he actually won the election, crypto prices have gone up quite a bit. Because people think the regulators and the government will be a bit more friendly in the US to crypto and ultimately like a pretty big tailwind for the industry. I mean, either way, crypto is going to be successful regardless of who won. I think this just ends up being a bit of a catalyst to speed things up, though.
So you're a believer into for crypto, but what kind of political or economic developments would actually be bad for crypto?
Bad for crypto? I mean, if it's overburdensome to, let's say, start a crypto company, right, that can be a huge barrier. I mean, a lot of the things that are bad for crypto are the same things that are bad for kind of startups and tech companies typically. So if it's really hard to create a company, register a company, and comply with whatever the local regulations are, in some countries that can make it very difficult. And Germany is actually a country where it is quite difficult to start a crypto company. The licensing is quite difficult to get, but I think it's going to start getting easier actually. So with MiCA coming into effect in Europe next year, and I can't remember exactly what the abbreviation stands for, but basically it's some sort of digital asset regulation that's going to apply to the entire EU and make it much easier to passport your crypto license between different EU countries. So let's say you have a license in Germany, you could also operate in Austria or Italy or France as well. So that's really going to open up the European market, especially next year. So I really think we're going to see a huge explosion in growth of crypto across the entire EU starting in January when that new regulation goes into effect.
So you're not yet in Germany because you don't have the license, right?
Right. So we don't have the license yet or a way to service customers in Germany unless they have another entity outside of Germany. Right. So we have some EU customers, but no German customers yet. So I expect when the passporting rules go into effect in January, February sort of timeframe, we'll be able to onboard German charities and nonprofits because that passporting rule will begin. Because we already do have customers throughout the EU, just not in Germany yet.
So you're hoping for expansion to the German market soon?
Yeah, we'll be ready. As soon as that goes into effect, we'll be ready.
So, okay, so then this conversation is getting even more interesting, I think, for German nonprofits here right now. Maybe you could give us some insight into the crypto market in the US, some numbers. I know you publish reports regularly, annual reports. Maybe you could give us some nice statistics, some numbers, so that we have an idea. And even I see you have some interest in the German market, so maybe even compared to the German market.
Sure. So yeah, people are always surprised by how big the crypto market has become. Globally, there's about 600 million people using crypto. That's, roughly twice the size of the US population. So a huge population using crypto. And the entire crypto market cap or market worth is over 3 trillion US dollars right now. So not just the number of people, but the actual dollar value and size of the market has really become huge. And Germany is actually one of the countries where crypto is quite popular. Maybe not for donating yet, but in terms of investing and holding crypto, there's a lot of research where they found that somewhere between 15 and 20% of Germans actually hold cryptocurrency. And you might be surprised by that, but I think something important to consider with those statistics is it tends to be younger people too. So a lot of millennials and Gen Zs are very dominant when it comes to those numbers. So it's very skewed to younger demographics. And so often people aren't fully aware of how many people really own crypto, but it's surprisingly high.
But you said that there's so many people in Germany owning cryptos. Why aren't they donating? What's the difference to the people owning cryptos in the US?
Well, some of it is because we don't operate there yet. So there maybe isn't a super easy way for nonprofits to get set up and do it unless they have maybe a crypto expert internally, right, who can help them set everything up. But most nonprofits just don't have someone in the IT department who can take on a project like that and build sort of a custom solution for them to take crypto. I have a feeling there's probably some crypto donations happening that we just don't know about, right? Because that's how it worked in the early days of the US, where maybe a wealthy crypto owner in Germany reaches out to a nonprofit he already has a relationship with, and they kind of, do it a bit manually behind the scenes, and maybe it's just not on the donation form on the website yet. So hopefully early next year, we'll be able to help out some charities and make this a bit more common in Germany.
I think there are some organizations trying to help donations, fundraising in crypto. So maybe there are some more reasons why there are not that many donations yet in Germany, and maybe some ideas in the chat. Well, whoever has other idea, maybe it's also something about the mindset or something, which the typical German angst. This would be my idea behind, but just for the public, please write into the chat why are Germans not donating in crypto yet when they're actually already holding crypto so often. So feel free to write into the chat. I see some questions are coming in. I have them in mind. I will ask them a little bit later. So whoever has an idea, please write this into the chat.
And maybe while people are writing, one other thought on this topic is around taxes too, right? So in the US, a huge incentive and driver of crypto donations, but really, stocks and equities, really any non-cash donation is very tax advantaged. So in the US and some other countries like the UK, if you donate crypto, you do not have to pay capital gains taxes on the crypto, and the charity gets to keep the full amount. And then the donor gets to write off that full amount. So that means in the US, you're probably able to give about 30% more if you give the crypto asset directly rather than sell it, pay the taxes, and donate the cash. So I don't think there's super clear rules around that in Germany yet, which could also be part of the reason.
And you already mentioned that crypto donors are younger, millennials, or even younger. Could you give us a kind of a profile? Who is this crypto donor? What kind of person is that?
Yeah. So from the research we've seen, like you said, yeah, they are younger. So a lot of them are, let's say, in their 30s. They tend to be a bit wealthier as well. Not just because they invested in crypto, but in general. So they tend to be pretty sort of tech and finance savvy. So in the US, Fidelity did a survey where on average their incomes are just over about 100,000 a year, typically. And they actually tend to be more generous than people who don't own crypto, which was an interesting statistic they found too. But yeah, it's younger, tech savvy donors, often living in big cities, like in the US at least, San Francisco, New York, Miami. But now that crypto is becoming a bit more mainstream, it's starting to look just more like the general population. So over time, I think the crypto donor just starts to look like your regular donor, really.
So they start to look like the regular donor, but till now, would you say that you need to approach them differently?
A little bit, yeah. I would say the biggest difference it comes from them being younger, right? At least in the US and a lot of other places, some of the biggest donors are 50, 60, maybe even older, who are still mailing checks, right? Or making cash donations or a bank transfer. So the biggest difference we see is like you have to be pretty active online. You have to have a good website, good social media, good digital marketing strategy overall, really. So you have to, know how to connect with kind of online donors. You can't just rely on in-person maybe fundraising, but I would say the most important thing that we see nonprofits who are successful do is you incorporate it into your existing marketing plan. It doesn't need to be a standalone or different marketing or fundraising plan. You can send the same emails, you can send the same mail, you can send the same SMS message asking for donations, but you just add one sentence, hey, by the way, now we take crypto too. And nonprofits are often pleasantly surprised by how many of their existing donors actually already have crypto and would give it if they knew that was an option. We always say you have to sort of be on the menu to be considered, right? Because otherwise they're going to go somewhere else where they make it easy and see it on the website and they can just make a donation with a few clicks. So that's a very common thing we hear from nonprofits is they're worried that, they say, oh, most of our donors are older. We don't think any of them have crypto. We don't think anyone would give us crypto. No one's ever asked. But right, if they don't know it's an option, they're probably not going to ask to give it, and they're just going to give it somewhere else where they know they can give it.
Yeah, we talked about this too in some other events where we talked about crypto, and I remember someone said that they had success because they ended up in a forum, in an internet forum for crypto nerds, and like one of the first NGOs in Germany ending up in this forum, so they got a lot of donations. So you mean you don't really need to enter into the crypto community because you already have it, a part of it, in your traditional donors, right? You don't need to focus on this new community.
Right, because it's just becoming common enough that many of your existing donors who are maybe donating with a credit card might already own crypto. I mean, the charities who really, really do well, some have started going to crypto conferences and, like you said, maybe posted on Reddit or Bitcoin Talk in these different online forums, or tagging people on social media that they know operate in crypto, or trying to have corporate partnerships. You can always take it a step further by doing those things, but you don't necessarily have to, especially when you're just starting.
We have some answers coming in chat. Why Germans maybe don't donate yet in crypto. I think NGOs do not have crypto in mind. That would be an option to ask for. So people maybe want to, but they don't find NGOs, which would fit well with what you just said, that you have to mention that you accept it. Someone else wrote lack of knowledge in NGOs, how or where to reach crypto donors and how to address crypto donation campaigns. And also because there aren't many role model organizations who accept crypto yet. So lack of knowledge, that's something we just talked about, that maybe it's not that difficult to reach people. You just put it on your normal channels. What should nonprofits know before they start their crypto journey? So for everyone now listening, thinking, okay, it sounds easy. I just have to write into my newsletter that I accept crypto. Is it that easy? And is it really for everyone?
I would say it's not for everyone. And I would say we probably say no to more charities than we say yes to. Because in some cases, there's other things charities should be prioritizing before they prioritize crypto. I would say the most common reason will tell a charity they're not really ready for crypto is because maybe they don't even have social media at all, right? Or maybe their website is very outdated and they can't even take online credit card donations yet. And we try to talk to them like, you need to have really the basics in place before you're ready for crypto, right? If you don't have any sort of fundraising strategy, especially online, you're probably not ready for crypto. So sometimes the very, very small organizations just aren't ready yet. And it's a bit easier for the ones who have a more established sort of online fundraising program. And then once you are ready or you think you're ready, you have to just research a few options for how to do it, especially in Germany. I mean, I think you mentioned there probably are a few solutions in Germany that could help even today. And just see which one meets your needs the best, because not everyone's going to be looking for the same thing. Some might just want the easiest possible way just to accept crypto. How do I just get a button on my website to take the crypto and nothing else, right? Others want a little bit more hands-on help, maybe some help with drafting the newsletter or the emails and the social media posts, a bit more of like, let's call it like fundraising and marketing support to actually have a strategy around it. So I'd say those are the two sort of types. It's sort of like, do you want to be passive or active when it comes to crypto fundraising? We tend to work more with the ones that are a bit more active, where they want a bit more of the hands-on support.
It makes me think a bit of this. There was a time when everyone wanted to do crowdfunding in fundraising. And I remember all these organizations that had no digital community, no community at all, but they wanted to do crowd, but they had no crowd. So it reminds me a bit of this, that you have to have some crowd to reach for, to some basic fundraising crowd to actually reach people who could actually donate in crypto. We have a question in the chat. Do you also have to educate the crypto donor side? Because my feeling is that a lot of crypto enthusiasts don't even think of the possibility to donate in crypto.
Yeah, it's a great point. We've spent a lot of time talking with crypto donors in the overall community to make them aware of why they should, how they can, who accepts crypto, all of these things. We go speak at conferences, we do webinars like this, but for crypto donors, we write all sorts of different content. And we even created a marketplace, really. So we have the largest marketplace of charities that accept crypto that we drive crypto donors to. So we'll partner with crypto companies like, let's say, exchanges, right? So when people are trading their crypto, they could see a button that says, hey, did you know you can donate some of your crypto, which would take them to the charities we work with. So there's a lot of work, and there's still a lot of work to do educating these donors, but it's getting better and better, and we've spent a lot of time doing it.
And another question, could the money laundry law, the Geldwäschegesetz, be a reason for staying clear of crypto donation?
This is a very common question too that we get in the US as well. So really the same money laundering laws apply to crypto as would apply to, let's say, euros or US dollars. So your charity still has to comply with money laundering laws. But really, right, as long as your charity is following those laws, there's no way to launder the money through crypto because it's coming to your charity, right? So money laundering would only apply in this case if you gave the crypto donation back to the person who donated it in some way. So as long as your charity is compliant with money laundering and not doing that, you'll be okay.
Hopefully everyone listening here is.
Yeah.
You mentioned in the very beginning when you said why you started this whole crypto donation platform that you mentioned an example from Venezuela, I think. And I know that that crypto plays a huge role when it comes to international cooperation and international donations, like also supporting women in Afghanistan or something like this, so that you don't have to pass through banks and through governments. Would you say that crypto is also really interesting for small NGOs, local NGOs working in the city in Germany and not globally?
Yes, and more so, just because more and more of their supporters probably own crypto. But 2-3 years ago, I probably would have said no. But I think that's changing. So I think it's easiest and most appealing for some of the large global NGOs, right? Because they have such a huge community, such a big audience, and they just have to just say they're taking crypto and they'll start getting some crypto donations. It's a little bit harder, I think, for the smaller organizations until crypto is really mainstream, but it's gonna get easier and easier for even smaller organizations. But the key is to start building those relationships early, because we see that the organizations that start accepting crypto early see year over year increases because they have more and more relationships, more and more recurring crypto donors, just like you'd see in regular fundraising strategies too. So there's a lot of our clients who even were taking crypto before they worked with us, like Save the Children, for example, and they still have some of those same donors from the early days who keep coming back, and they keep those relationships strong.
Save the Children, which is a huge NGO. Can you give us some examples of different NGOs you're working with? So
Yeah.
what kind of NGOs are those?
So Save the Children is one of the huge ones that's been incredibly successful, but there's lots of case studies we have as well on sort of medium and small nonprofits as well. There's one, actually, it relates to the use case you mentioned earlier in Afghanistan, a very, very small nonprofit called Code to Inspire, which is basically a coding school for women in Afghanistan. They have fundraised crypto and Bitcoin very successfully, and they've even used it sort of as like a human rights tool where they can actually give the women in the coding school Bitcoin because they aren't actually usually allowed to have a bank account in Afghanistan. And this is a way to create some financial independence and financial freedom for the women in this coding school. They've been incredibly successful, even as a small nonprofit.
That's a
And then
beautiful idea.
yeah, it's pretty
I
cool.
get goosebumps listening to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And we see use cases like that across the Middle East, especially for women's rights. But even like what we were talking about earlier with Venezuela, maybe for journalists or political opponents, right, who are having their bank accounts shut down, but could take donations through crypto as a way around to fight sort of the corrupt governments in some of these countries. Um, and then we have some, what let's call maybe some more like mainstream use cases where it's maybe like an animal charity. We have one client called Orangutan Outreach that protects orangutans, sort of a medium-sized nonprofit. When they started working with us, their annual budget was roughly $500,000 a year. And in their first year working with us, they raised $1 million in crypto. So they grew their budget quite a bit. They've still continued to be incredibly successful. And maybe as a follow-up item we can send out to the group, I can send a link with some of these stories that have a bit more detail, but it's really a wide range of sizes and types, right? We have examples of churches who have done this very successfully, universities, all sorts of different nonprofits.
That's interesting that it's so diverse, because when you started with this coding school in Afghanistan, I thought, okay, but that's kind of the topic, it's
Yeah.
coding, it's informatics, so the target group is kind of, yeah, but churches, that's very different. You mentioned the huge budget. Is this something you can expect when you start with crypto?
No, you should expect that it's going to be a little bit. It's going to start small and grow over time. Don't expect to just start accepting crypto and all of a sudden you get $1 million, right? That's not the typical path, unfortunately. But generally, it is still like a good sort of investment in ROI as a charity because there's very few nonprofits who start taking crypto and want to fundraise from this community that get zero donations at all. So most nonprofits, I would say, are pleasantly surprised, even if they're just targeting their existing donors.
But then it costs resources to open a wallet, to read through all of this, to learn about the laws and everything around. I mean, that's kind of a challenge for a lot of NGOs, because they don't have enough resources, they don't have enough employed people taking time to read through all of this. What would you say, how long does it take an NGO in general from starting from zero, never having accepted any cryptocurrency, to being able to say, okay, the time we invested was paid by donations in the end?
Yeah. I would say the majority of our customers have what they would consider like a positive ROI, definitely in the first year. And then it gets less and less work and more profitable in future years, right? So the upfront work, like you're saying, is the most time consuming. The first couple months where you're maybe reading newsletters and just studying a bit. But I also think it's less work than most think because you don't have to necessarily understand how, let's say, Bitcoin mining works, for example. I think that's actually a common mistake where nonprofits will think they have to understand like all the technical complications of how Bitcoin and crypto actually works, but they really should just be focusing on how do they take crypto, why should they take it, and then how they're going to fundraise it, right? They shouldn't worry about Bitcoin or try to pick their favorite coins and tokens and things like that. They should be fairly agnostic when it comes to which crypto they can take, as long as it's worth something, right? And just focus on actually making it easier for donors to give to them, and how to connect with those donors is really the priority.
I think that's interesting because we do a lot of things every day we don't really understand, and we don't really care about. But when we start something new, we would like to understand it. But you mentioned Bitcoin mining, and I have to ask this question because it always comes up. What about the ecological footprint of crypto? Is this a question you get asked, and what do you answer?
Yeah, that's another great one. This is one we used to get a lot. We get this a bit less now that it's been it's really become a misconception over time. So Bitcoin, yes, does use a lot of energy, but the second part that a lot of people often don't realize is it's mostly actually green energy, renewable energy. So roughly 60% of Bitcoin mining is actually renewables, and it's actually helping draw more innovation and investment into renewable energies, because really Bitcoin mining attracts, wherever the cheapest energy is, right? And often that's renewable energies. So it could be, there's actually a really cool example. One of our clients runs a national park in Congo, in Africa, and they didn't previously have electricity to this park. But in order to pay for the investment to get the electricity to their park, they actually set up some Bitcoin mining in this park. And they were able to generate it totally using some damming systems, basically the natural waterways coming through there, to have sort of quasi-free electricity for Bitcoin mining. And it paid for the entire region to get electricity with completely renewable energy, because they started mining Bitcoin in this national park. I'll send you the link that we can send on afterwards. It's a really, really cool story. But it's not as crazy as some people think. I think there's a link right here in the chat about Bitcoin mining in Congo.
Thank you, Philip.
But yes, the bottom line is Bitcoin mining is becoming more and more green over time, and generally these concerns about the environment are generally overblown, or at least outdated these days.
So that this example from Congo sounds a bit like a good example of circular economy in the end.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, just to come back to this whole how to actually reach crypto donors, because I think that's blocking a lot of NGOs thinking of it. These are not people actually already in our community. Maybe, I mean, you said probably yes, but what are creative fundraising campaigns reaching directly to crypto donors that you saw in your in your community?
Yeah, there's two pieces to it. So part of it is actually campaigns we've run on behalf of our clients. So I think Giving Tuesday maybe exists in Germany, but maybe it's not as big as in the US.
It's a lot smaller, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we started the company, we also started what we call Crypto Giving Tuesday. So we run our own version of Giving Tuesday, but for the crypto community every year. Same day as Giving Tuesday, we do it in parallel. And we send out, all sorts of marketing materials for our clients to use on Giving Tuesday around crypto, and do really like a big end of year fundraising campaign push for really all of December around the holidays. Some clients, though, have done their own campaigns where, I use Save the Children a lot because they have a lot of good examples, but they are running a campaign called HODL for Hope. So this is kind of a crypto term, HODL, HODL. You'll have to Google it because it's kind of complicated to explain, but it's kind of a crypto nerd term that only the crypto community would really understand. So they named their crypto campaign HODL for Hope. And this was their fundraising campaign that they were running really mostly on social media that got a lot of traction. We have other clients like American Cancer Society, who had a $1 million fundraising campaign, and they just called it the Crypto Cancer Research Fund. Very simple, right? And the headline was, this is the first research for cancer that's going to be funded by crypto. And they raised over $1 million in a very short period. So it doesn't have to be that complicated. You can do what you're doing, but add the word crypto, and you've got a campaign.
So, and you can actually, play with the fact that you're early, saying this is the first. That always works well. Can you give some good examples of organizations who, for the first time, reached out to their existing donors and told them that they're accepting cryptos now? Is another question in the chat.
I would say that applies to practically all of our clients, or most of them. It'll be included in the testimonials that I send over later, but it's really a mix of all sorts of organizations where, especially at year end, like these last couple of months of the year, where they send out an email and they find out a donor who had been giving them, let's say, $100 a year on their credit card just made a $1,000 crypto donation. So the really interesting thing is there's two sides to crypto fundraising. Some nonprofits do it thinking they're mostly going after brand new donors who have never given to their organization before, but are giving because they take crypto, and there's not that many charities that take crypto. And then the second half is the existing donor base. And what we're finding is when the existing donors give crypto, they actually give more because it's more tax efficient for them. And for many of these crypto donors, they actually hold a large portion of their net worth and their overall wealth in crypto. I think it's something we don't think much about, but a lot of people who have a lot of wealth store that wealth actually in assets, not in cash, right? They don't just have all the cash sitting in a bank account, usually at least. And it's actually more efficient and easier for them to give, let's say, a stock donation or a crypto donation because that's where their wealth is stored.
Would you say there are some charity cases, some topics that work better for crypto donors than others?
In the early days, yes, right? I think Code to Inspire and the example I used earlier of the coding school in Afghanistan, those were sort of the early adopters, right? And those were really the cases that resonated with the early crypto user around tech, I would say. Tech and freedom use cases were sort of the most popular in the beginning, but now, like I was mentioning, it's all sorts of charities, and we're seeing kind of broad appeal, whether it's a church, a school, a national park, cancer research, it's really everything.
And now you just mentioned before that, especially the Christmas time, and, just to mention, look, we're accepting cryptos. And my first thought was, oh, that's great that we're talking right now so people can actually, listen to us today and write it on the Christmas card tomorrow. But probably not everyone listening to us had already opened a wallet, and, there's still some month of work before. What would you say to those who are really just starting or just starting to think about accepting crypto donations? What were the steps, and what's your advice for these German NGOs on the German market? You already mentioned that I looked it up. The MiCA, the Markets in Crypto Assets Regulation, will make it easier in Europe and in Germany. But what's the advice for German NGOs who would like to start?
Yeah, I would say the most important thing is actually starting, right? So you should start preparing for next Christmas basically now already. A common mistake we see is, December 1st, charity calls us and says, oh my gosh, I need to start accepting crypto today. I have done nothing, right? It's like, all right, well, we can help you, but it's not going to go as well as if you had planned this, a year ahead or 6 months ahead. So this is really something you should be doing year round, even though we see the most donations at year end. And I would say some simple things you can do is like subscribing to some crypto newsletters. You could even go to our website, thegivingblock.com, subscribe to our newsletter where we just talk about crypto philanthropy, new charities that are taking crypto. You can kind of follow along, see what other charities are doing. We highlight good examples of charities who are doing, newsletters, social media posts to give sort of inspiration. And then we'll just post about like general developments, but we're not the only ones. If you just look up crypto philanthropy on Google, look at some news articles, subscribe to some newsletters, just start getting familiar with the basics. And then you can always book a call with us too and reach out and have someone on our team explain things, and especially next year when we're able to work with German NGOs.
But, for me, it's always like you can start reading about it. I mean, I know myself, if I start reading about something, I will read for the next 5 years. And I always have the feeling I don't know enough about it. So when is the moment to actually get into action?
I mean, today, got to get started sometime. I mean, you really should start reaching out to some of the providers in Germany who can do it today and learn about how their solutions work, and start talking to your teams about it as soon as you can, really. And I think, you might not be ready right away, but you should at least start getting the information of how it would work if you decided, okay, today we're taking crypto. If someone comes to us today and emails us, I want to give you $1 million in Bitcoin, what are you going to do? Right? Do you have a plan? I would say everyone should be prepared for that scenario. Even if you aren't actively fundraising crypto, you should at least know what you're going to do if that situation comes up. Because that's the worst case scenario we've heard from clients is, a donor has come to them and said, I want to give you Bitcoin. and they had no idea where to start. And in some cases, they lose the donation because they take too long to figure it out, or they just don't have a way of doing it. Or even worse, we've heard sometimes they'll, not knowing, tell the donor, like, we don't take Bitcoin. You have to convert it to cash and give us the cash. Donor leaves, they go somewhere else that takes Bitcoin, right? So we hear all sorts of stories like this.
So we're all still waiting for this email to come. I mean, I get emails of people that wanting to give me a lot of money, but it's not it's not that kind of email, I think. And
Yeah.
Theo from Fineo just mentioned in the chat, you can also subscribe to the mailing list for crypto donations from Fineo. There's a link in the chat, and there's also an online class you can take at Fineo. I think the link's gonna come too. Alex, maybe a look into the future. You already mentioned some changes to come. You told us you really believe no matter the political situation, crypto is going to be there and it's going to grow. What would you say 10 years from now, 2035? How does the fundraising market look like then?
Yeah, I think crypto, of course, continues to grow. And I think for the nonprofit and the NGO market in particular, whether it's in the US or Germany or other parts of the EU and most of the world, really, I think in the next 5-10 years, practically every charity takes crypto donations. I think this will be just like the adoption of credit cards and online donations, where 5 or 10 years from now, it'll be unusual for a nonprofit not to take crypto. I think it'll be that common. I think there'll be more charities taking crypto than not taking crypto because it'll just be that mainstream. Most of the big, let's call it Fortune 500 companies, whether they're in the US or Europe or Germany, are doing something around crypto, and that's only going to accelerate and become more common. Most of the big banks and financial services companies, credit card companies, financial tech companies, they're all starting to do something in crypto. So it's coming and it's accelerating, especially with new regulations like MiCA coming into effect. So it's only going to become more part of everyday life. And those that move on this early and build those earlier relationships are really going to benefit the most.
So if you're not acting now, you'll miss the train.
Yeah, it's never too late to start, but those that start the earliest are going to benefit the most.
Thank you so much, Alex, for all this information. That sounds very exciting, exciting times ahead, and maybe you'll be on the German market next year. Till then, and besides from that, there are also some similar organizations in Germany already, and a lot of information available. So no one should wait, but start today if you're interested in accepting crypto donations. Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you for all the questions in the chat. And have a great day. You still have the day ahead of you in the US, I think.
Yeah, I'm in Miami, so it's just about almost 11 o'clock in the morning only.
So we're ending the day here, the work day for now.
Yeah.
So have a nice day. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thanks